And greetings and welcome to the QCast. This is season 5, episode 7. We start to get into some super special episodes because we're recording this on Friday, November 1st. We're in November. It's my birth month, so I like November, but more importantly, it's when D3 hoop season starts. That's the best part about November. And we are 1 week from ball games. This is unbelievable. And I have a great QCast today and a great story, maybe a totally under the radar men's basketball program in Division 3. And that is Bryn Athyn. And I've got Sean Westerlund, the head men's basketball coach of Bryn Athyn, with me today. Sean, first of all, thanks so much first of all, look at how good is this? Is this a great look or what?
Love that. See, we're both on the hunt now. Together we hunt, Bob.
I sincerely appreciate the gear, and I sincerely meant it when I said I'd wear it with pride, and really appreciate that. How are you doing, Sean? It's great to have you on the QCast.
Yeah, doing well. We had our best practice of the year so far this morning. So as a coach, couldn't be happier. We're 1 week away from game day, and so it's exciting times all around. I really appreciate you giving me a chance to come on to the QCast and share a little bit about Bryn Athyn and our story.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one because I sincerely mean it when I say this is a really under the radar team for this upcoming season. Now, I think some of the people that dig deep in this stuff, like I'll bet my guy Ryan Scott's all over this, but I don't think a lot of people know where the Lions are and could be this year. So I want to get into that with you, Sean, because boy, you returned 4 studs, and I don't know how many teams across the country return 4 all-conference guys from a good team. So we'll get into that, but first, I just thought let's start here. Is Bryn Athyn? It's in suburban Philly, I believe, right? So you're
That is
15
correct.
miles from the heart of Philly. Tell us about the school first, and then let's get into hoops. But tell us a little bit about the school.
Yeah, so Brent Athyn's a little slice of heaven. When people come on campus, they can't believe how amazing our campus is, the resources that we have. It's a beautiful 33-acre campus. And it's nestled only about 13, 14 miles from Center City, Philadelphia, which is fantastic for internship opportunities for our students. But we're a young athletic program from an NCAA standpoint. I think as a whole, I think our oldest program is men and women's soccer, which is about 14, 15 years. We're entering year 11 as an NCAA program for men's basketball. We're one of the smallest Division 3 schools in the country,
Wow.
with an enrollment that will fluctuate anywhere between 275 to 385, depending. But we are funded by the General New Church, which is our governing body, who does a great job of with our endowment subsidizing things to allow our students to have an affordable education. And um, we're we're in a really fortunate place as a small college with our endowment, with the financial resources that we have, where that might differentiate us from another smaller private
Sure.
institution just because of the church funding that we have.
Isn't Division 3 amazing? You have schools that are as small as what your enrollment is. What'd you say? Somewhere like less than 500, you said, right?
Yes. Yeah, we're not getting to 500.
You
It's not in our strategic plan. We like being a small school.
you could end up in an NCAA game paired against like Wisconsin, whichever Wisconsin school has the most enrollment. I don't know,
Yeah.
Oshkosh or UT Dallas that just went D2. They've got like 40,000 students. I'm pointing
Yeah.
actually they're that way here in town. Isn't that kind of unique about Division 3? It is made up of schools of all shapes and sizes.
Yeah. I think that's what is so great about the Division 3 model, and what separates us is because of the variety that we have at each institution, the different mission and visions, and then giving our student athletes opportunities to um, have something greater than just obviously athletics is great, but to have all the different opportunities that each institution offers. I think that's the beautiful thing about Division 3.
Absolutely. Yeah, very well said. This will be your, I believe this will be your 5th season, and I think your first. This is almost 2 QCasts in a row where the guests started during the COVID era. Like April 2020 is when you got the gig. Is that right, Sean? Whoops, there we
Yeah.
go.
So sorry about that. So I was hired, announced April 29th, 2020, first day, July 1st, 2020.
Wow.
So right in the midst of COVID, had no idea. Find out uh, in September that they're going to cancel our season, and then we were able to scrape together some exhibitions and some,
Right.
uh, for over a 4 week span where we basically created a pseudo bubble where we're getting tested 3 to 4 times a week to be able to practice and to play. And I think it ended up being 16 practices and 8 exhibitions. And so it was a very unique first year. And then, but it gave us a nice little runway to kind of build our culture, build our standards, and help our guys understand where Bryn Athyn basketball was going to go for, as long as our staff is in place.
And it's quite a story since that season. So you scrap together four games in some kind of D3 bubble that year, and you win 0 of them. So here's
Yes.
your progression of wins: 0. The next year you win 7, then you win 11. Last year you won 17. So you
Yeah.
won 17. Here's a few other things, Sean, about last season. So you go 17-9, you go 12-5 in the league. Last year in the history of your program, that's the most wins, 17. It's the most conference wins, 12. It's the best conference finish, second. And you had the second longest winning streak, or sorry, the longest winning streak at 7 in the history of the program. Now
Yeah.
you mentioned the history of the program isn't crazy long, but hey, that's got to feel pretty good to start to see results of what you're building. Talk about what last year meant to the program.
1,000%. So, um, I think for our guys, we wanted to demand more from them. And it's not to Justin Baxter did a good job of starting the program, but we wanted and we had goals of a higher level of success. And I think Justin would say he wanted the program to be more successful. And that first year we went 7-18, 11 single digit losses with a team that was predominantly freshmen and sophomores. And then that next year we set the wins record at 11, right? That broke the previous win record of 10. But again, below 500, that's not good enough, right? So we were playing meaningful basketball to the last day of the regular season, but we still missed playoffs. And it's interesting because that 11-14 team, we lose Jamal Canny Jr., who scored 1,000 points in 2 years at Bryn Athyn, transferred up to Division II level. We
Right.
lose Jerry McCann, who was a two-time all-conference big man for us. We lose our all-time assist leader in Anthony Burr, lose our all-time three-point leader in Isaiah Curitin, lose our second leading scorer from the previous year, Derek Orr, from that team. So we're losing a ton of guys. And, um, I think for our staff and even for our guys, we do much better when we have a chip on our shoulder. And we went out and got a ton of transfers. Most of them recruited committed after July 15th, including Jalen Jackson, Jalen Parker, who were two of the all conference guys
Right.
for us. And we win 17 games. I told Ryan Scott that we went to the roulette table and we hit every single time on every single transfer that we got. Um, but I think the great thing about the 17 win team is we only had two guys that had played for us in the rotation back. And so we had all these new guys. We had to figure out
Sure.
how we're going to make it work. And the roles and injuries played a factor in some capacities. And we pieced it together and we're able to set, program records, which was great. And look, we got upset against St. Elizabeth on a last second shot in playoffs where we led for 39 minutes and
Oh,
45 seconds. In the last 15 seconds, they hit a shot to go up one. We miss a shot, we foul, we have another chance to look at three, and it just doesn't go. And, I told our guys we had every single metric, right? So if you look at the metrics that we value, we're like 35-1
right.
in those games. And that one loss was a St. Elizabeth playoff game. And credit to St. Elizabeth for finding a way to win, but it hurt, right? And so I think the special thing about this group is we bring everyone back, even Montrell Horsey, who graduated from his eligibility as a student assistant while he finishes up his degree. So we have every single component back from that team, and we're looking to try and build on that as we head into a tougher non-conference schedule and a new looking United East with the way our conference
Right.
is working out. So I'm proud of the guys for how they've bought into what we're trying to do and trusting me and Coach Jew and our entire staff is, we want more for our program. We really do.
In terms of recruiting, Sean, so you mentioned the transfer route. As you compose a roster moving forward, the last 4 years have been unique because we've had the COVID extra year of eligibility. That's made the transfer route a lot more doable because people had that year. When you think of moving forward, do you see a combination of transfers and your own homegrown guys? Do you see being primarily homegrown based, primarily transfer based? Talk about like your recruiting mix moving forward.
Yeah, so I think moving forward, we're going to do a little bit of a mix. I think we're always going to save 3 to 4 spots for transfers, but we would like to have, 3 to 5 spots for homegrown guys. I think as we've gotten better as a program, we're now able to attract the homegrown guys that we weren't necessarily able to get the first 2 years, right? So part of the reason why we went the transfer route to begin with is we were very intentional and committed a lot of time and sweat equity into our top high school guys. And when they were down to their final 2 or 3, it would be Susquehanna, Arcadia, and Bryn Athyn. It would be Drew, Arcadia, and Bryn Athyn. We're in the
Right.
conversation with schools that Bryn Athyn hasn't been in the conversation before with high level recruits, and they'd still pick those schools after spending all this time and resources. And so we shifted our model to getting transfers and
Sure.
whether they're JUCO drop downs, other Division 3 transfers, because a lot of times with transfers they're just looking to be seen, heard, loved, valued, and they
Right.
just want a coach that can what they feel is be real. For whatever reason that it didn't work at the last stop. And every transfer that we have on our roster, I've had a previous relationship with of some kind, right? So like Jalen Parker, I recruited him when I was an assistant coach at Hood College. He sent me his recruiting letter that I sent him when I
That's
was an
great.
assistant at Hood. And so we're very intentional about the relationships, and you never know when these connections will come back around. But as we've gotten better, like this year, we're trying to prioritize more high level high school kids, and still, be in the mix for a handful of transfers when it comes, July and August that are still available.
In terms of just Division 3 in general, you have a long D3 background. You mentioned you were an assistant at Hood. And then you went to Lancaster Bible, right? You graduated, you played 3 sports at
Yes.
Lancaster Bible, which is kind of a YD3 in and of itself. What
Yeah.
what what do you love so much, Sean, about Division 3? Because clearly you've chosen to stay in Division 3 as opposed to, going off to other levels, whether that be D2 or JUCO or NAI, whatever, D1. What do you love about this level?
So it seems so cliche, but it's the relationships, right? I have found that my experiences of Division 3, they're smaller institutions where there's more touch points with your coaches, with your professors. And when you have those touch points, you have people coming alongside you in your journey that can empower you to find who you are, lean into who you are, and then put you in opportunities for you to grow into who you're supposed to be. And so for me at Lancaster Bible, I remember 3 coaches specifically: Josh Beers, who was my head coach for 2 years; Luke Gibson, who was my assistant coach for 2 years, who also helped recruit me; and Dave Netz, who was an assistant coach for me for 2 years. And those guys specifically just saw who I was as a person and didn't they held me accountable, right? There wasn't these comfortable there, it wasn't always hunky dory, sunshine and rainbows. They held me accountable when I messed up. But they also said, like, Sean, you're special, and these are the things that you can do with your God-given gifts. And then give me the space and freedom to explore different things, right? Like I didn't fit in one clean box. I played four
Right.
years of college soccer. I played 2 years of college baseball, 1 year of college basketball. And so the opportunity to experience those things and then have the connective tissue to the people that are impacting my journey and not be a number on a page is really why I champion Division 3.
It's very well said. I had the same experience, not as I was not a student athlete in Division 3, but just my experience going to a Division 3 school is I could get involved in a whole bunch of things that I just wouldn't have been able to had I gone to a larger school. And so everyone kind of finds their own path in Division 3, but I think that is very well said. Tell me about this crazy UEC conference. Coach, you were the coach of the year last year, very well deserved. Wilson 11-2, St. Elizabeth, and Bryn Athyn, kind of the top of the standings. Tell us about the conference for those of us from other parts of the country. that don't get a chance all the time to watch all the UEC games. We probably should be this year. But tell us a little bit about the league.
Yeah, so our league is under a bit of a transition. We are now the largest Division III conference in the
Yeah.
NCAA. The great thing about that is we have a lot of different teams, and so we have I believe 17 different teams in our league. And what
Wow.
that means from a basketball side of things is we play 16 conference games against 8 opponents at a random draw, and we will never play an opponent more than 2 times in a 3-year cycle.
Wow.
And so it's interesting how the conference schedule works out for basketball. So, like for example, for us, we're playing, I believe, 6 playoff teams from last year, and 2 teams that aren't in the playoffs. One's a new
Wow.
school, Penn State Brandywine, that just joined our league, and then Rosemont, who was eliminated from playoffs in the last week of the season. And so the scheduling is kind of unique because based off your draw can affect where you land.
Yeah.
We have 12 teams that make our conference tournament. The first 4 get a bye. And so 5, 12, 7, 10, 6, 11, 8, 9 are the first round games. And then you advance to play the seeds that you're aligned with. The league is made up of a lot of different schools. So we have Penn College. We have a bunch of different Penn State schools, Harrisburg, Abington, Berks, Brandywine.
Right.
We get down to Maryland and Notre Dame. We get, Wilson and Chambersburg, PA, Gallaudet, and DC. So we're pretty spread out. We got Keystone, Rosemont, Valley Forge, Caron. I might be missing a couple.
You got
It's a
most of them.
lot. So it's 8. It's a unique league. And I think the great thing about our league is that we've had success at the national level. Don Friday at Penn State Harrisburg has done a phenomenal job. I think the last 2 tournaments, actually, a United East school has won in the NCAA tournament. Lancaster Bible knocked off NYU a couple tournaments ago. And so, our league, while we don't get necessarily the same national buzz because, the bottom of our league typically has a tough time competing at the high end Division III, but the top of our league is really, really solid. And so I would expect the same for this year, where the
Right.
top, 4 teams in our league could do something on the national scene. And I think for us with Bryn Athyn, we're trying to do that. We're having Gettysburg come to us early on in the year.
Saw
We're
that.
going down to Roanoke to play Roanoke and either match up with Susquehanna or Maryville. And there's other schools in our league. Caron, I think, is playing Swarthmore this year. And so the top of our league is trying to challenge themselves.
And shout out to my guy Don Friday. Sean, is that one of the better names in Division III coaching? Don
Fantastic.
Friday.
There's these Twitter accounts that do names per division. They need to do a coach name and get Don Friday on there.
I had a chance to meet Coach, and yeah, legendary dude, good dude. So especially on a Friday, good to give him a shout out. Has there been a preseason coaches poll? Um, and if so, who's the favorite? And if not, who do you think? Just taking yourself out of it, like who do you see as the men's basketball favorite in the league?
Yeah, so our league for this year, because it's the first time we're fully merged
Yep.
as all the teams together, we're doing a preseason preview rather than a poll. I think next year we're talking about doing a poll, just so for any coaches that aren't familiar with the
Yeah,
other side. Um, Taking Bryn Athyn out of it, I think Caron is going to be really dangerous. They brought in 10 transfers. A lot of them are grad transfers. They have Hardy, who started for Hampton Sydney, that transferred over to Caron. So they have some high level transfers on their roster. I
sure.
think Penn College brings back a ton. They bring back 2 first team all conference guys and Baird and Livingston. You can't sleep on Harrisburg, even though they're in a reload where they have, I think, the best freshman class out of any program. Don Friday is such a great coach, and I think Lancaster Bible is definitely going to be up there. Just John Mack is a phenomenal coach. The pace that Lancaster Bible plays with is so
Yeah.
disarming to all of their opponents and how well coached they are. So if I had to pick 3 to 4 teams outside of Bryn Athyn, I would say Caron, Penn College, Lancaster Bible, and Penn State Harrisburg would be in that top echelon.
That's awesome. Hey, that's a great scoop. And one of the reasons I like doing the QCast is I learn about conferences I don't all the time get to pay attention to as much as I should. So that's really helpful. As far as your team, I mentioned this right at the beginning. I just don't know how many teams ever return 4 all conference guys from a really successful team. And you've got that Sean, this year you've got Will Little, Jalen Parker, Jalen Jackson, and Jakir Hampton
Yeah,
returning. And let me tell you a little bit about what these dudes did last year. So Will Little, first team all conference. He's a 6'6" junior guard, so a guard with incredible size. 17 points, 4 rebounds. Jalen Parker is a 6'8" senior forward, so you have great size.
yep.
13 points, 8 rebounds, and he was 53% from the field. Jalen Jackson was also a second teamer like Jalen Parker was. 6'1" senior guard, 11 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. And Jakir, am I saying Jakir? Is it Jakir? Is that correct?
Yep,
Jakir
it's
Hampton,
Jakir. Yes, sir.
third team all conference, 6 foot senior guard, 12 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists. I mean, Sean, coming into a year when you have this much coming back, this much experience, this much talent, this is the reason why I got to put the sleeper, big time sleeper tab here on Bryn Athyn. How do you feel coming into the year with these dudes?
No, look, this is the most continuity we've ever brought back, and I think it's also not just the most continuity. It's our top dogs. It's the talent that we bring back on top of those four all conference guys. We bring back super role players and Jalen Carey, Keith Bullock, and Zeke Marshall,
Right.
who are round out our top eight in our rotation. So, we feel great about what we have. I've told the guys it's not going to be a talent issue for us. It's really going to be where do we have it here in between the ears? Do we have the discipline? Do we have the grit and the toughness to recognize where we need to improve, right? And be willing to do things differently, right? So we were 17-9. I felt we had a couple bad losses that we gave away. I felt like we gave away the Abington game when we were up double digits at half. I felt like we no showed the Pratt game. I felt like against Keystone at home we no showed the first half, and so like we had, and then the last two games of the year, we lose on a last second shot to Karen. And, we had suspended two starters for that game for violating team rules. And then lose on a last second shot to St. Elizabeth. Well, I've just named 5 of our 9 losses, you know what I mean? On things that we could control. And so I feel great about it. I really do. It's how can we grow and also uh, bring in the new guys that we brought in and have them help us and impact our winning. And so expectations are high in Bryn Athyn. Whether nationally they feel that way or in the league, I know for us as a program, we have high expectations and we scheduled that way. And I told our guys, right, like there's a chance that, we might lose a few more games in the non-conference schedule than we've had in the past just because we're playing tougher teams. And all of that is to help us for league play where, we want to win 13, 14 games in
Right.
league because we win, 13, 14 games in league, we're probably getting a top 2 seed, which means we're going to have home court throughout until at least if we're fortunate enough to get there, the championship game. And so, I think too, what's so special is to have the continuity of guys playing together. So
Right.
now we can get to a little bit more advanced levels within our offensive and defensive scheme, and we can tweak with some things that last year we had to be a little bit more simple, just because
Right.
we had out of our 10 guys, 8 of them were new. And I think too, one of the things that I learned last year, right? So we've never played man to man before last year. We were the I'm a disciple of Chad Dickman at Hood. And so we played the
Oh
Hood
yeah.
2-3 zone. But we could not play 2-3. I knew in the first 8 days of the 8 preseason days that we had that we could not play 2-3. And we're trying to it's me. I'm trying to make them play 2-3. And my assistant coach, Gene Lewis, he's like, Coach, they can't do it. We got to look at something different. He's like, what about man to man? I'm like, no, I don't want to play man to man. I didn't recruit these guys to play man to man. And then 3 days before our game against Rutgers Camden, we put in man to man and ended up being our best defense. And we played
That's
it
great.
80% of the time last year. So, I'm excited just because of the continuity that we have throughout the entire group. And then when you have 4 all-conference guys, um, 3 of which had played at the scholarship level in some capacity, is, we're going to be in some games just because of our talent, but how can we take that step and allowing the talent to shine within a disciplined setting and trusting our offensive and
Right.
defensive scheme to do the work for us? Because that's when it gets simple, right? If we want to be like Illinois Western, we want to be like Randolph Macon, we want to be um, even like a Mary Washington or a Farmingdale State like last year, right? we have to allow and trust our system to pair with the talent that we do have.
When you talk about man versus zone, and I think it was with Coach Dickman that I talked about this regarding his zone. Is it's amazing to me how the teams that play zone and commit to it and play it the right way and believe in it play it so much better. Like Nebraska Wesleyan or Trinity of Texas, like they
Yeah.
play it so well. Whereas like I go to an Illinois Wesleyan game and all of a sudden it's let's Coach Rose says, let's go 2-3. And it's sort of like pass, the other team makes a three, and he's like, go back to man. So like playing a zone takes a certain level of like commitment, Sean. Is that like, am I saying
You
that
got to
right?
burn
You
the
got to
boats.
believe in it, right?
Yeah, you got to burn the boats, got to believe in it. And we tell our guys all the time, it doesn't matter what we do defensively or offensively. You have to champion the vision, right? And so talking to our guys, like y'all chose Bryn Athyn, y'all chose our staff, right? So if you chose us and our staff won Coach of the Year last year, like trust us that we're going to put you in a position to succeed, and they have, and we've done some things that play to our group's strength because we have great length, and so we
Right.
can we can switch 1 through 5. We can trap ball screens, we can ice ball screens, we can play a very weird 2-1-2 that Piedmont does. I stole that from Piedmont just because we had the length for it. And so we've
Sure.
been able to kind of tweak some things for this group. And that's what's so exciting is because we have so many guys coming back, now we can add a couple different layers to, when I'm thinking about building a game plan, how can I eat up practice time of the other coach? Right. So if you have to prepare, all right, this team has 3 or 4 different ball screen coverages, and we don't know what 4 they're going to do. On top of that, they have 5 different play families, whether it's Monster 21, Joker, whatever it might be. Now they got to spend more time. And now they're not even focusing on themselves as much because they're so worried about like, this is everything that Bryn Athyn does.
Right.
On top of they're going to roll out, a lineup with a bunch of size, athleticism, and shooting.
Just a couple more topics. We're talking to Sean Westerlund, the head men's basketball coach at Bryn Athyn. You mentioned scheduling. I just wanted to kind of go back to that. So first of all, you tip this off, which great. A week from today, you're playing a real game, right? So a week from today, you've got Marywood,
Yeah.
and then the next night you get Scranton, which is a great one, right? The
Yeah.
matchup with Scranton. Those are both fun games. So that's next Friday, Saturday. You mentioned you play Gettysburg. I voted for Gettysburg in my top 25 ballot. I think I had them 17th. I think that they're going to be amazing, and they return, um, most of their rotation, right? And
I thought they'd be a preseason top 25 team.
they're,
I'm in my book. If I was
I
voting,
did
I
too.
would vote them as a top 25 team.
I think just with their league, it's like no one knew who to pick. No one knew to
Yeah,
like, do you take Hopkins or Swarthmore or Gettysburg? So, and interesting, I'll talk to BJ Dunn here very, very soon. So you're playing them, and then you mentioned going to that Roanoke tournament, Christmas time-ish, between Christmas and New Year's. So
yeah.
intentionally, it seems to me like you're looking for tough games to start to build that new NPI thing that replaces the old. Are you seeking out kind
Yeah.
of tough competition, or did it just work out this way?
No, we intentionally scheduled this way. We thought we had a chance to be really good. Um, I think the most eye-opening game for us last year as a program was the one at Randolph-Macon. And, Josh Merkle
Sure.
does a phenomenal job. And they weren't in the top 25 when we played them, but you couldn't tell me they weren't a top 10, 15 team when we played them. They were phenomenal, and they were so disciplined.
Yeah.
And I told our guys, right, like we talked about it wasn't necessarily a talent disparity. It was the level of discipline, the level of execution, the attention to detail. And for us, right, we need to get used to playing that consistently. What I'm looking forward to about Gettysburg is they're big, they're going to defend. Okay. And how do we deal with a team that can match size and that's more physical, that is going to be playing a full 40 minutes where, you know, sometimes, and this is no disrespect to any of the bottom end teams in our league, but you can maybe get away playing 25 good minutes and
Sure.
15 bad minutes against a NCAA caliber team. You need a full 40. And so we need to get used to playing that level of competition. It's going to allow us to get better. I think Roanoke's a sleeper. They bring everyone back, and I
They
think
are
that they can,
absolutely a sleeper.
potentially push to be in that top, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the ODAC that's always so loaded. And with whatever result we get against Roanoke, we either get a top 20 team in Maryville or we get a very good Susquehanna that's been in
Right.
the tournament a couple different times in the last 5 years. And so it was intentional for us to be able to kind of raise our bar and understand like
Right.
this is where we need to be. The standard is the standard. It's not, and this is, we don't want necessarily United East, like whatever it is, right? We want it to be national, right? We want to be in that top 25, top 50 conversation. We're not there yet, but the only way we're going to get there is by playing these games.
And good call it on Roanoke, because I agree. I didn't know what to do with the ODAC on my ballot. I think I landed on like Randolph, Macon, and Guilford. And the one like recurring nightmare is I didn't vote for Hampton Sydney because I just couldn't figure out with all they lost. But
Yeah.
I'm guessing they're going to be incredible again, and they're going to prove me very, very wrong very quickly. But Roanoke absolutely could be a team that contends to win the ODAC. Which if you're good enough to win the ODAC, you're like a top 10 team. So
Right.
I'm going to keep
Right.
an eye on Roanoke for sure. Um, I tell you what, Sean, this has been really cool, and I think one of the favorite things stories that for me to follow is that the programs that are building it. And I
Yeah.
talked to a lot of those coaches where you start to see, the wins rack up over the years, just a little progression. And for you to go from 0 to 7 to 11 to 17, I don't have to be a D3 datacast nerd to know that we're on a good trend. The trend is going this way, coach. And you
Yeah.
have this loaded team coming back this year. Really looking forward to watching your games and looking forward to your continued success with the Lions. Close us out, Sean, on the QCast. You get the final words. You got D3 fans tuning in, Lions fans. Like, hit us with something to close this out, coach.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for giving Bryn Athyn basketball a platform on the QCast. I'm so grateful for us to now be entering these conversations. I think when you watch our games, D3 community, you're going to see a coach and bench that are rabid dogs, right? Me and my staff, we're a bit wild on the side. It's very energetic. We're smacking the floor, running up and down. Our guys are into it. We're passionate, and I think what we hope that you see from our games is you see a team that is connected, a team that plays with great joy, a team that is competitive, and a team that is selfless. And those are the four core values of our program. And we're really excited for you guys to be able to share in these moments because I think it's going to be a really special season for the Lions basketball program. I really do. And I'm not just saying that because I'm the head coach and I have something at stake here. I just think that our guys have worked incredibly hard to earn the right to be at the table. And so I'm excited to see what we do when we sit down and put on our napkin and grab our fork and knife and begin the meal when that season starts on November 8th against a very tough Marywood team that brings their top 10 back. And so Marywood's an interesting matchup even in the first game. And
Right.
so we're excited. Um, and if you guys want to hear more about Bryn Athyn men's basketball, feel free to reach out to me on my email at sean.west@brynathyn.edu or find me on social media, Coach Sean West. It's an exciting time. Bob, thank you so much for what you do
Of
for the
course.
D3 Hoops community. I'm a loyal follower. I love all your content. I told you in the text message, I love your golf content. So if you're ever in Philadelphia, there's great golf courses in Philly. You just shoot me a text and we'll go out and play some golf.
Well, I tell you what, I got a good golf thing coming in like 2 weeks. I get to play TPC Sawgrass for a
Oh
work
wow.
event. Like a day of work. I'm playing TPC Sawgrass, coach. So I'm gonna send you some pics from the Island Green. I think.
That's amazing. And you got to hit the island. I expected, at least a par. Let's try and hit the
I'm
island.
working on.
No water.
I think it's a pitching wedge. So I've been working on just like good vibes with that pitching wedge. I don't want to hosel that thing straight into the
Yeah.
water. I really would like to hit the green, coach. I would
Well,
love to.
you get to play almost year round in Texas, don't you?
Oh, without question. A buddy of mine in Minneapolis sent me a picture yesterday of a snow-covered back patio. And, we're just getting to the best weather of the year right here. And it's going to be like 77 here today, which is a nice little break from the 80s. So, coach, there's no off season for golf in Dallas. No, there's no off season.
Well, if I'm ever in Dallas, I'm going to hit you up to play around. And the offer stands if you're ever in the Philadelphia, South Jersey area.
Absolutely. I would love to. And again, good luck to you guys this year. What we will
Thank
be
you.
following, hopefully, this little Q cast, in addition to some of the other great pub you mentioned stuff with Ryan Scott. Hopefully, we could start to build a little momentum for the Lions because you guys really deserve the attention coming into this year. It's a team that people need to keep on their radar. That is Sean Westerlund, the head men's basketball coach of the Lions of Bryn Athyn. They returned 4 all-conference dudes. Sean, we'll talk soon, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bob.